Good morning, everyone. Today, we'll take up a new chapter, that is clinical laboratory practice, laboratory instrumentation and technique. So today we will discuss about the principle of radioimmunoassay. So what is immunoassay? So an immunoassay is a test that uses antibody and antigen complexes. And antibody antigen complex is also known as an immune complex. So immuno refer to an immune response that causes the body to generate antibodies. Assay refer to a test. So immunoassay is a test that utilizes immunocomplexing when antibodies and antigens are brought together. So before we start to the actual principle of radioimmunoassay, let us know what is antigen, what is antibody, and what are the analytes. So an antibody is a protein that is produced by the body in response to an invading foreign substance. So antibodies are produced as a part of the body's immune response to protect itself. And what is antigen? And an antigen is a substance that the body is trying to fight off by mounting an immune response. For example, the drug is an antigen that binds to the antibody. And what is an immunogen? An immunogen is a substance that elicits immune response. For example, drug, protein conjugate, these are the immunogens. So what is an analyte? An analyte is anything measured by a laboratory test. In immunoassay testing, the analyte may be either an antibody or an antigen, and immunoassays utilize one or more selected antibodies to detect analyte of interest. So the analyte being measured may be that are naturally present in the body, for example, thyroid hormones, then the body produces but not rarely typically present. For example, cancer antigens, the cancer markers, and thirdly, do not naturally occur in the body, such as drug abuse or from outside we give drugs. Before we go in detail, let us know about antibody. What is the structure of these antibodies? So antibodies are produced by B lymphocytes. The most common one is immunoglobulin G, IgG, and IgG is a protein composed of two main structural and functional regions. F region contains the antigen binding site that varies between different antibodies, and Fc region, that is this F3 region of constant structure within an antibody class. So radioimmunoassay is an elegant technique in analytical chemistry. If substance to be analyzed is in very low quantities in the order of micrograms, nanograms, so conventional method like gravimetric and colorimetric method. So radioimmunoassay finds extensive application in the assay of many substances which are present in trace amount in blood. Now coming to the history. So radioimmunoassay was developed in the year 1959 by scientists Rosalind Yellow and Solomon Burson for the measurement of insulin in plasma. So it represented the first time that hormone levels in the blood could be detected by an in vitro assay. In the year 1977, Yellow received Nobel Prize for her and Burson's development of RIA. So this picture is Rosalind Yellow and Solomon Burson. So what is the principle of radioimmunoassay? The amount of antibody per tube is kept constant, and the amount of antigen added, known or unknown, is the variable parameter, and the added antigen will be distributed between a bound B and a free F fraction. This distribution is governed by the association constant, that is Ka, of the antibody. Antibody plus antigen, it forms antigen-antibody complex, and constant K is equal to antigen-antibody complex divided by antibody and antigen. So competitive binding of radio-level antigen and unlevel antigen to a high affinity antibody. So the level antigen is mixed with the antibody at a concentration that saturates the antigen binding site of the antibody. So as the concentration of the unlevel antigen is increased, more level antigen will be replaced from the binding site. The decrease in the amount of radio-level antigen bound specific antibody in the presence of the test sample is measured to determine the amount of the antigen which is present in the test sample. In standard condition, amount of this labeled antigen bound to the antibody decreases as the amount of unlabeled antigen increases in the sample. This is the structure of the antibody, and the green dot it is unlabeled antigen, and the blue is labeled antigen. So radioimmunoassay, what are the pros and cons of this radioimmunoassay? Pros, number one, its versatility. Then using the same principle, almost any biomolecule can be assayed, and it is fast. Usually it takes only 2 days or less, and it is more sensitive comparable to the most sensitive bioassays, that is less than nanogram per ml can be assayed. Then large capacity in terms of thousands of samples per day, specific, antibody dependent. And what is the cons? So here we are using radioactivity, so there is hazardous of radioactivity, and it's expensive equipment. For example, gamma or beta counter, they are very expensive. Then what are the requirements for the development of an radioimmunoassay? So we should have a pure antigen for standard in microgram, the tracer production, which is 10 of microgram, and antibody production 100 of microgram. And we need tracer which may be self-made or commercial, and it should be specific, high affinity antibody, self-made or commercial, and a method to separate bound and free antigen, and maybe optional a system to extract the antigen from the sample. And what are the reagents used in radioimmunoassay? So there will be a tracer, that is a label ligand, a binder, that is antibody, which is the specific antiserum, and a separation system to separate the bound and free phases, and a standard in high pure form, and a free human antiserum. And lastly, the radioisotope used are commonly beta emitter H3 and carbon-14, and gamma emitter commonly used the radioactive iodine 125. So reagent used in radioimmunoassay tracer, that is tritium H3, and it's a weak beta ray emitter, significantly lower energy than carbon-14. Then long physical half-life of 12 to 3 years. Then biological half-life is 10 to 12 days, and produced by neutron bombardment of a lower hydrogen isotope used for drugs like proteins and amino acids. And carbon-14, it has got a weak beta ray emitter, long physical half-life 5.7 into 10 to the power 3 years. The biological half-life bound is around 12 days and unbound is 40 days. So commercially available is barium carbonate, carbon-14. So reagent used in RIA, that is radioimmunoassay tracer, the most commonly iodine 125, which has got low gamma emission and 34.4 kV, and high specific activity and short physical half-life, only 16 days. And positron versus gamma isotopes. The positron beta emitting radionuclide are mainly restricted for in vitro experiments, and the gamma emitting radionuclide are used for in vivo imaging. And other than this, other commonly used isotopes are positron, carbon-11, N13, O15, and F18. And gamma, iridium 111 and 123 iodine, then iodine 131 and ceramium 153 and this selenium 75. So reagent used in radioimmunoassay tracer, the 125 iodine is the most favored because it can be obtained with specific activity and almost 100% isotopic abundance, and thus reducing counting time and being economic. And convenient half-life of 60.2 days, hence shelf-life for the labeled antigen is long. And iodine is also naturally constituent of the hormone thyroxine and triiodothyronine. So it can easily be introduced into peptide molecules, then steroids, and gamma emission permits the use of simple, inexpensive equipment for counting the radioactivity. What is the disadvantage? So the damage to the ligand may occur during storage. There may be also, since it is radioactive, there may be health hazards or more. It requires sanitization counter, which is very costly, and low specificity C14 10,000 is equal to 100 into hydrogen tritium is equal to 1 iodine 125. The advantage is it has got long shelf life 12.3 years, higher affinity and no necessity for derivative preparation, and minimal health hazard. So specific antiserum binder or antibody. How it is prepared? It is prepared by injecting repeatedly the antigen together with fraud adjuvant into suitable animals such as guinea pig or rabbit or goat. The molecule-like thyroid hormone steroids drugs are not immunogenic, so they are conjugated to carrier proteins and polymer to make them immunogenic. So how is the separation system? The separation system, it is required because the bound fraction does not precipitate spontaneously at low concentration. So variety of procedure are available. Number one, physical method, filtration, chromatography, electrophoresis, and charcoal dextran adsorption. Secondly, chemical method by organic solvent such as ethanol, dioxane, PEG, or salt such as sodium, zinc, and ammonium sulfate. And thirdly, solid phase system. A standard that is ligand analyte in highly pure form. Drugs like protein and hormone etc. must be in pure form so they can be diluted. Standard are prepared in ligand-free serum. In case of proteins, hormones, the standard should be prepared preferably with the hormone from the species from which the serum is going to be analyzed. Then ligand-free human serum. How it is prepared? It is prepared by treating human serum with charcoal, and it can also be prepared by collecting serum from volunteers in whom production of that ligand or hormone has been inhibited by treatment with an appropriate drug. So general procedure for performing a radioimmunoassay analysis. A known quality of an antigen is made radioactive. This radio-label antigen is then mixed with a known amount of antibody for that antigen, and as a result, the two chemically bind to one another. A sample of serum from a patient containing an unknown quality of the same antigen is added, and this causes the unlevel or cold antigen from the serum to compete with the radio-label antigen for antibody binding sites. So as the concentration of the cold antigen is increased, more of it binds to the antibody. So general procedure for performing this radioimmunoassay analysis. The next, by displacing the radio-label variant and reduces the ratio of antibody-bound ratio-label antigen to free radio-label antigen. So the bound antigens are then separated from the unbound ones. The radioactivity of the free antigen remaining in the supernatant is measured, and separating bound from unbound antigen is crucial. So initially, the method of separation employed was the use of a second anti-antibody. So this diagram shows the radioactive antigens and first antibody, then add unlevel antigen, which is the blue color, then radioactive antigen, the red color, displaced by unlevel antigen, then precipitate antigen antibody complexes with anti-immunoglobulin, that is the second antibody, then radioactivity or supernatant free antigen, then finally radioactivity of the precipitate bound to the antigen, and finally we got the second antibody. So what are the advantages of this radioimmunoassay? The radioimmunoassay is very sensitive technique used to measure concentration of antigen without the need to use a bioassay. It can measure 1 trillion, that is 10 to the power 12 of a gram of material per milliliter of blood. So it is structurally specific as antigen-antibody reaction are highly specific. It is indirect method of analysis, and it is a saturation analysis as active reagent added in smaller quantity than that of the analyte. So what are the disadvantages of this radioimmunoassay? So prolonged reaction time, it takes in days, is a consequence. Highly diluted reagent is used, the radioactive iodine is used. It is not a cheap reagent. Then possible health hazard due to handling of radioisotopes. Then all the reagent must be added precisely, limited assay range, and lack of direct linear relationship between analyte concentration and signal response, and difficulty of automation and the lengthy counting time. These are the disadvantages. So what are the uses of this radioimmunoassay? Narcotic drug detection from this drug abuse, then blood bank screening for the hepatitis C, B, a highly contagious condition, this hepatitis virus, then early cancer detection of tumor markers, then measurement of growth hormone levels, and tracing the leukemic virus, and diagnosis and treatment of peptic ulcer, and research with brain chemical called the neurotransmitters. So recent applications of these radioimmunoassays, refinement of this zalcitabine pharmacokinetics, estradiol measurement in transitional studies of breast cancer, plasma estrogen measurement with use of radioimmunoassay has been instrumental in the development of aromatase inhibitor for endocrine therapy of postmenopausal breast cancer, and significance of prostate-specific antigen in prostate cancer patients and in non-cancerous prostate disease patients, and evaluation of enzyme immunoassay and radioimmunoassay method for the measurement of plasma oxytocin. So this is the figure showing the gamma counter. So what are the drawbacks? It is very expensive and hazard of preparing and handling the radioactive antigen, both radioactive iodine 125 or radioactive 131 emit gamma radiation that requires specific counting equipment. So the body concentration of iodine atoms, radioactive or not, in the thyroid gland where they are incorporated in the hormone thyroxine. So radioimmunoassay is a major clinical tool. Why it is important? What is the clinical importance of radioimmunoassay? It is used to assay plasma level of most of our hormones, digitoxin or digoxin in patients receiving these drugs, certain abuse drugs, for the presence of hepatitis surface antigen in donated blood, and anti-DNA antibodies in systemic lupus erythematosus, that is very common SLE, and narcotics drug detection in screening of blood bank of the hepatitis both B and C, a highly contagious condition, and early cancer detection, and measurement of growth hormone level, tracking the leukemia virus, and finally diagnosis and treatment of peptic ulcer research with brain chemicals called neurotransmitters.